أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده تعالى ونستعينه ونتوب إليه، والحمد لله الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله، ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، ونشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. أما بعد, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran many times tells us that specific occasion when an individual, whether they were the mushrikeen or an individual who was a Muslim, would specifically and very strongly turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the mushrikeen, they believed in Allah. قُلْ مَنْ رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ قُلِ اللَّهُ. If you were to ask them who created the heavens and the earth, they would say Allah. However, in order to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they brought in idols, and they would worship these idols in order to get closeness لِيُقَرِّبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ زُلْفَى, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this situation or scenario Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings at numerous places in the Quran, wherein an individual is tested to such an extent that this individual's only place to turn to is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And within the history of Islam, when depicting someone who saves you, many paintings and many descriptions were very, very similar to the Quran, because this was a situation that an individual when you're in that situation, me or you would automatically turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is when you are sailing, you're in a boat in the water, and you hit the waves. And for any one of us who have been in the water, you know that that specific situation is such that you cannot go anywhere else. You don't know what to do. And the second the waves hit, even if it is a small wave, and there's no storm, it's sunny, but still automatically your heart turns to Allah. I hope I get through this. And then the waves start getting bigger and bigger, and then you look up in the sky and you see the clouds are getting darker. And in the far distance you see that is a storm, and you're heading right into the storm. It doesn't matter how much you try to get away from it, it's a lot faster than you. وَإِذَا غَشِيَهُمْ مَوْجٌ كَالظُّلَلِ. And then it comes into you, and you're on this boat, this ship, and this boat is in the middle of the waves. And it covers you like this big cloud and this big, this big dark cloud. And wherever you look, you don't know where you're going, and all you can do is hope that you get through the storm. And once you get through the storm, you can only hope that you moved forward and not went backwards or in any other direction. And after the storm passes, you look up and look for that North Star, or use the compass to find out exactly where you are. However, in the midst of the storm, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, دَعَوُ اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. All of a sudden you forget everything that you used to worship, the idols and everything that it is there, and the true nature of your heart, which is that tawheed, comes up onto your body. Oh Allah, save me. And that oh Allah, save me is not superficial, rather it is very, very deep from the heart. It is very, very deep from the heart. And if you cannot relate to this situation because you haven't sailed or you haven't gone into the water, then this situation came about on myself when I was driving through New Mexico, Arizona, and there was a quarter tank of gas, and the sign said that next services are 100 miles away, and I looked at it and said I could make it. And I passed the gas station, and I kept on driving, and as I was driving, it started going towards empty. And then it reaches empty, and I don't think I've even gone, I'm very far away from reaching a gas station. And at that point, from inside, you realize, I don't know what's going to happen. There's nothing there. If you've driven in the southwest, you realize it's just desert, it's plain. You can see 100 miles away in all directions. There's nothing there, and it's hot, 118 degrees. There's nowhere else you can go. You don't know what's going to happen, and then you start praying, oh Allah, a gas station, please, I need a gas station. And then this strict tawheed, the calling to the one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes in. It's that situation. Along these lines, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran talks about us facing these scenarios wherein the truth of our heart opens up. You're not going to call it anyone else. You're not going to look at your partner and say, save us. I can't do anything. You're not going to look around anywhere. You're going to automatically turn to the one place or the one whom you believe that will save you, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you pass the storm, or in my situation, found the gas station, and you put the gas in the car, or you are free. فَلَمَّا نَجَّاهُمْ إِلَى الْبَرِّ إِذَا هُمْ يُشْرِكُونَ. And then you forget. Gone. So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that convenience that comes into the picture when you need. But as a Muslim, we need to believe that in shakartum la'azidannakum. In all situations, we need Allah. Whether we're in a hard situation or whether we're in a happy situation. Because of the famous king who had his vizier write on his ring, "This too shall pass." And when asked, and he kept it on his finger, the ring, it said, "This too shall pass." And when he was asked about it, he said that this reflects all the situations in everyone's life. You're happy, it's going to pass. There'll be a time where you're going to be sad. There'll be a time where you're not going to be happy. And then you're not happy or you're sad or you're angry or whatever other situation is, this too shall pass. You're going to make it to the other situation. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. So we need to realize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Moving forward, there is one individual, and he has a lot of friends. And the reason this person has a lot of friends is because of the amount of wealth this individual has. One man, a lot of wealth. Let me tell you how much wealth this person has. You walk in to this person's estate, no house, nothing. Perhaps the house is somewhere else, you don't even know. And there's this long walkway. And then you notice, oh, there's a little house on the side over here. And then you look to the right. And there's this beautiful, big field. You can't really see in the field because the field is surrounded by palm trees. Surrounded by palm trees. The whole field. And it's not just one big field. It's actually, if you were to walk a little bit more into this area, you look to the left and you find that there's these palm trees forming like a large square. Very large, very big. And then you look to the left and then you look to the right and you see the same thing. So there's two identical, big, huge gardens. And you walk into the gardens, there's fountains. And both of the gardens, keep in mind, are encircled by these palm trees. And you walk in, there's this pathway made, both. I'm going to describe one, and remember the other one is exactly the same. But they're two separate areas, there's something in the middle. We'll get to the middle in a second. You walk in, there's these pathways. And within this garden, you see a lot of date palm with fresh, juicy grapes and dates. And it's so beautiful. You can walk in and just take it and eat it. And there's fountains, there's places to sit. And this person who owns these two gardens really has a lot of money. And he's perhaps imported these big rocks from wherever, brought them in and put them, instead of having a bench there, he just put rocks there, big rocks that you can sit on the rock, and trees, and it's so beautiful. You walk in, the grass is so green, and it smells so nice. And then, so that's on both sides, and then you look in the middle. In the middle there are these crops, and growing vegetables, and corn, and wheat, and whatever it is. Imagine it. So beautiful. Now this individual has a lot of people working for him within the fields, within the gardens, making sure everything's so beautiful. Perhaps people come visit these gardens, come sit there, and it's so nice. You sit there and study or whatever you need to do, you can do in these gardens. And then there's a friend of this person who happened to be a Muslim and was having a conversation with him. In the midst of the conversation, he told him, he said, listen, boastfully, look at what I have. I have these gardens, I have these fruits. Not only that, every single season I get more fruits. And I'm giving to all the people, and I'm doing so much. Clearly, I have more than you. Clearly, I have more than you, because I see you. You're just living in that little hut in whatever city. And boastfully, he was talking to him, and he told him that, and it was in the midst of a conversation. And this happens even within ourselves when we converse, when we talk with people. Sometimes someone has a little bit more, they start to boast a little bit. I have this, I have this and I have that. You know what else I have? I have this and that, and I have this and that. And then all of a sudden, this Muslim individual, person who believes in Allah, goes on his way. And this man who owns these gardens walks in, standing at the gate, looks to the right, to the left, looks at the crops, and says, wow. These people that are outside, that are looking into my garden, they have these hopes that they're going to die and then God is going to give them gardens. Look at what I have. And these people have these hopes that when they're going to die, God is going to judge them and based on their good deeds, put them here and do this and do that. I have it all set for me in this world. It's all happiness. I have all the food, I have the fruits, I have this beautiful place, I have women, I have everything, you name it. It's all there. Not only that, I give to people also. A few days later, this individual who was believing in Allah, a little bit annoyed at the boastfulness of the owner of the gardens, comes up to him and says, listen, first things first. أولا يذكر الإنسان أنا خلقناه من قبل ولم يك شيئا. Don't you remember that before you had all this, or before you were born, people didn't know you? People didn't know you. وَلَمْ يَكُ شَيْئًا. You weren't even a thing, شَيْئًا. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you've reached this level that because of whatever you've been given, you're forgetting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The situation of the ship, or the boat I was talking about earlier. And he tells him that you were created from dirt. مِنْهَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ وَفِيهَا نُعِيدُكُمْ وَمِنْهَا نُخْرِجُكُمْ تَارَةً أُخْرَى ثُمَّ مِنْ نُطْفَةٍ. And then the drop of sperm. ثُمَّ سَوَّاكَ رَجُلًا. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made you who you are. As for me, Huwa Allahu Rabbi, I believe that Allah is my Lord. وَلَا أُشْرِكُ بِرَبِّي أَحَدًا. I'm never going to put a partner with God. Because I know whatever He's given me, He is the one that gave it to me. And I know that whatever He's given you, He is the one who gave it to you. وَلَوْ بَسَطَ اللَّهُ الرِّزْقَ لِعِبَادِهِ لَبَغَوْا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَكِنْ يُنَزِّلُ بِقَدَرٍ مَا يَشَاءُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't give all the money to everyone. Makes some people rich, makes some people poor. He made me of the people that are poor. But I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put me in that situation, thus I thank Him. And He's given you everything, and you don't thank Him. Why don't you, every time you enter into your garden, Every time you see everything that you have, your children, your wealth, and all of the stuff that you have, why isn't it that you turn to Allah and you say, "Oh Allah, this is all what you have destined for me. This is all from you. And I don't have any power. All the power is from Allah." وَلَوْلَا إِذْ دَخَلْتَ جَنَّتَكَ قُلْتَ مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. That everything you have is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to give to you. So you should thank Him that He wanted to give that to you, because if He wanted, He wouldn't have given you anything. But you better watch out, because it is possible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may send a wind and will destroy everything that you have. Or you see that river that flows right through your crops? That same little river that flows from the garden in the east through the garden of the west. It's possible that through the rain that river may overflow and your garden is going to be underneath the water. But this individual didn't care. This person didn't care. According to him, I have it all. That, these gardens and these crops, is what I own. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed him what he owned. And one night, the command of Allah appeared on both gardens and the crops. And he woke up in the morning to go and stretch out and look at his garden, and he walked through and he started to flip his hands like this. فَأَصْبَحَ يُقَلِّبُ كَفَّيْهِ عَلَى مَا أَنْفَقَ فِيهَا وَهِيَ خَاوِيَةٌ عَلَى عُرُوشِهَا. And he realized everything was destroyed. And then he did what Fir'aun did. He said, يَا لَيْتَنِي لَمْ أُشْرِكْ بِرَبِّي أَحَدًا. So that situation where you're in the middle of the waves. Oh my God, I need someone, I need something. Who am I going to turn to? I wish I listened to my Muslim friend. Or I wish I listened to this person who was telling me to recognize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was the one who gave me everything. وَلَمْ تَكُنْ لَهُ فِئَةٌ يَنْصُرُونَهُ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ. He realized that there was no one else that would have been able to help him except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the king of this world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Rabbul Alameen, the king of all the worlds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the owner of the day of judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to him everything belongs. So what we can do is, when we look at everything around us, we say what was instructed to us to say by that one individual who believed in Allah. وَلَوْلَا إِذْ دَخَلْتَ جَنَّتَكَ قُلْتَ مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. And this story that I told you is in Surat Al-Kahf, verse number 32. You can look at it over there. The example of two individuals, and one of them was given two gardens with crops in the middle. You can look at this, it's so beautiful. So the reality of this world that we're living in, if we want it to be successful, we need to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the life in this world, or whatever we have in this world, once we die, then we are not going to take anything with us to the grave. And for this reason, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran tells us that the example of this world is like rain. Now you have these crops, and all of a sudden the rain falls, but the fruits and the vegetation, everything starts to grow. And that's your life. You're living, you're going, You're working, you're making money, you're living, whatever it is you're doing. But still, the example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us is that in order for that vegetation to grow, the rain must come, and the rain comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That rain comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It doesn't matter how many rain dances you do. It doesn't matter how many times you run around in circles crying for rain. It doesn't matter how much you call for the rain, it's not going to come. It only comes when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants it to come. وَيُنَزِّلُ الْغَيْثِ, and He's the one who sends the rain. However, all of a sudden, the rain doesn't come. 1 day, 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months. It's a little bit hard to understand over here. But in Arizona, where I used to live, it used to rain 6 days or 10 days in the year. So when the rain doesn't come, or for many of us who are from, the desert area, or perhaps even in this city over here, when the rain doesn't come, you start to panic. Oh my God, I hope it's going to rain. Because you need this rain to have the vegetation grow. And then everything slowly starts to die. And starts dying and dying, and this big wind comes and blows everything away. And you realize, I should have turned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the first place. كَمَاءٍ أَنزَلْنَاهُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ فَاخْتَلَطَ بِهِ نَبَاتُ الْأَرْضِ فَأَصْبَحَ هَشِيمًا تَذْرُوهُ الرِّيَاحُ وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُقْتَدِرًا الْمَالُ وَالْبَنُونَ زِينَةُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Everything that you have right now, your children, your wealth, it's all from the zina. It's all from the adornment of this world. وَالْبَاقِيَاتُ الصَّالِحَاتِ خَيْرٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ ثَوَابًا وَخَيْرٌ أَمَلًا. The good deeds that you do, these good words that you say, مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ, is what is going to go with you in the hereafter, and what is going to give you a little bit of hope in the hereafter, not what you have in this world. وَيَوْمَ نُسَيِّرُ الْجِبَالَ وَتَرَى الْأَرْضَ بَارِزَةً. Because there'll be a time that the mountains are going to be pulled out of the ground, and you'll be able to see what was on the other side of the mountain. The whole earth is going to become very clear. Wow, I can see everything. وَحَشَرْنَاهُمْ فَلَمْ نُغَادِرْ مِنْهُمْ أَحَدًا. And then we're going to question everyone for what they did. And when the criminals and the ones who did bad deeds are going to look at their book of deeds, and they're going to say, يَا وَيْلَتَنَا مَا لِهَذَا الْكِتَابِ. Oh, woe to this book. What kind of book is this? لَا يُغَادِرُ صَغِيرَةً وَلَا كَبِيرَةً إِلَّا أَحْصَاهَا. It has listed every single thing that I did. وَوَجَدُوا مَا عَمِلُوا حَاضِرًا. Everything is going to be in front. وَلَا يَظْلِمُ رَبُّكَ أَحَدًا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to question us for every single thing that we did. Thus the message is, always remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there, and everything belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our tawheed and conviction in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be the tawheed and the sincere calling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of that individual who walked outside into his garden and seen everything destroyed. Or that tawheed of that person who was in the boat in the middle of all of the waves crying, "Oh Allah, save me." That should be the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we have all of the time. Because this too shall pass. All situations will come and all situations go. What defines you is how much you connected yourself with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by remembering Him and by following the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد بعدد من صلى وصام، وصل على سيدنا محمد بعدد من قعد وقام، وصل على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين والملائكة المقربين. قال الله تبارك وتعالى والسابقون الأولون من المهاجرين والأنصار والذين اتبعوهم بإحسان رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه وأعد لهم جنات تجري تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا، ذلك الفوز العظيم. اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا هداة مهتدين ولا ضالين ولا مضلين. اللهم ارفع مقتك وغضبك عنا. اللهم اجرنا من النار ومن خزي النار ومن كل عمل يقربنا الى النار. اللهم اجعل القرآن العظيم ربيع قلوبنا ونور صدورنا وجلاء احزاننا وذهاب همومنا وغمومنا. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.